Okay, so this is what the app which is getting generated now. And I'll show you the project structure and where all details will be available, the destination details. So initially we won't see the destination details, but later on at the time of deployment, one file will be created. Okay, let's close this. And now when we go to the manifest.json file, this is what the service we have consumed. Okay, so can you see the service now? This is what the service we have consumed. So there is one more way, like let's say now after creating the project, you want to consume the service. So what would be the option? Go to this three icons, go to view or command palette, and here you can search for consume SAP service. Can you see this consume SAP service? You can search for that. Once you click on that, now here we have to select like in which project folder you want to consume. Let's say I want to consume in Z, this Z oData. Okay, so this is the project. Yeah, this is the project in which way I want to consume. So what is your systems? Like we have to select my SAP system. And now it will provide the list of SAP system details. OK, so I want to go with the destination SAP S4 on-premise one. And now see, it is bringing all the services. So again, you can select one service and automatically that service details will be available. Fine now, guys. Any questions here? So at least you got it how to consume the service now within your BS app. Tell me yes or no.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. So once it is done, so we'll have URI, type is oData, and in that you can also see local URI because for the time when you consume any oData service, one folder will be created as a local service, and in that metadata.xml file will be created by default, which will have the um, the details about your oData. Okay, so basic details will be available in that.
One more thing is we. So please explain one more thing is we can consume more than one request within the same application.
Yes. That also. Yeah, sure. I'll explain that also. Yeah. I have one more service. I'll explain that also. Yeah. Okay. So like once it is done, so as of now, we just integrated a single service, right? So this is the service that we have integrated. So let's say you want to add one more service. So before I add one more service, so first of all, this is the main data source, which is referring to your backend system. And now for every oData service you consume, we need a oData model for that. Okay, so for every service, we need a separate oData model. So can we see whether for this main service oData model is there or not? It's already there. So guys, by default, one main source, this will be created. OK, but internally it is referring to the oData model. So now let's say if I want to create one more service, if I want to consume one more service, so what would be the steps? OK, so same like go here, view, command palette, consume SAP service. I'll consume one more service now. Z oData project. This is the app. And now I'll select S4 on-premise one. Now it will read the data. See, can you see below here getting services? OK, some status icon is there below. Let's wait. Still returning the services. Sometimes it happens. Okay, let's see when it's. Okay, failed. Okay, let's try one more time. ACP system. As for on-premise one, yeah. Now let's say if I'm searching for EMP, just now we created, but there might be some other services which are starting with Z. I guess they have cleared everything. Okay, let's go with, let's say we want to consume, these are all standard services, I guess. Okay, let's go with this one. Okay, this one I'm selecting. So as soon as I select, a piece of code will be added here. I'm not sure, nothing is happening. See, okay. So can you see? So this piece of code, it got added, or means this code is generated now. And now according to this, like we need one more model. So now you can see model here, like they have already, they modified the existing one. But likewise, we can add one more model. You can give comma and you can add a data source. Like let's say now this, I need one model which is referring to the main service in data source. That's it. So, but make sure that oData model cannot be like most of the time what happens in any UI5 application, oData model, we always make it as a default model. Okay. But if there are more than one oData service, then 100% we have to provide a model name for that because we can't make two models default at the same time. So now the one which we consumed just now, the second service, for that we'll add a name like this is oData. This is O process flow oData model. And second, yes, the second one will make it as a default one. That's it. So this is how we need to consume the service. And then just now we consume two different services here. Okay. So if you don't have the option, so manually also you can do that. Just copy this piece of code, copy and just add it. Manually also you can do. There is no problem with that. Okay. So once it is done, now let's run this project and let me show you how you can check whether that service is working for you or not. Let's run this project now. Okay, so make sure to open the inspect tab and go to network tab. And now here you can put a filter on metadata. Okay, $META, just search. Okay, so let's reload it once again. And now you will see one services. See, can you see? Now we have two metadata calls, one for the first service which we have created and one for the second oData service which we have created. Okay, so likewise, we have two metadata call. So whenever you get a metadata, the status for that metadata call as 200, it means we have successfully consumed that oData service in our app. Okay, so we should be able to see all the details for that service. See, can you see? Metadata is loading properly for that. So at the beginning, so whenever you want to test your app, so first of all, go to the network call, run the app and check for the metadata call. If metadata call is successful, it means everything will work from that oData service properly. If metadata itself is failing, like you'll get a basically status code as 500 or 400, something like that. If you're getting status code apart from 200, it means there is an issue with your oData, with your metadata. Just go to your backend system and check. And if not, also check your manifest once if there is any problem with the manifest. Okay. So likewise, let's say I'm changing something. I'm just removing this E from the service. And we already know that service is not there, right? That service is not there. It is incorrect. Can you see now here? See the error? So we're getting 300. No service found for namespace. Likewise, we'll get the error. Okay. So make sure that this is what the changes we have to do, and always before you do any changes, so make sure to check whether the metadata call is happening successful or not for that service. And sometimes you can also get a status code as 304. Still, that is a workable. Still, you'll get the response. That's not a problem. Okay, so first part is done. So we are successfully consumed the oData service in UI5 app. Now let's read the data from oData. So to read the data, let's go to employee detail. And now let me create a table. Guys, just 1 minute, okay? Just 1 minute. Okay, so guys, here we'll add a table code now. So table items, and now I'll simply provide this. And now I'll add a columns aggregation. We'll add a column here, label. So first I'll add EMP ID. So likewise, I'll add a couple of designation company. That's it. So we just added a 5 columns here. Now let's add the items aggregation, column list item. And now inside the column list item, we need cells. And inside this cell, we need text. Okay, so let's add 5 times. So 5 times is added everything. Now let's do the binding. So how we can do the binding? See, for reading the data from the oData model, there are 2 ways. Okay, one, you can simply do the binding in XML itself, and directly the data will be read or it will be fetched. So that is the first way. Second way, to write a JavaScript code inside the controller file. So that would be your second step or the second way. Okay, first I will show you how to read, how to directly bind the entity set here within this XML code. So when you can bind, so already we know the service that we have consumed, main service. So this main service, the service that we have consumed for the employee, it is the default oData model. It belongs to the default oData model because you can see blank here, right? So accordingly, you can do the binding. So directly provide slash and entity set name. So what is our entity set name? You know that what is our entity set name? Employee set.
Employee set.
Yes, employee set. And now here you can directly do the binding of fields. Okay, so directly we have to do the binding of fields. Just let it load. Wait. See, now it's automatically it's fetching the data. But I'll just open that metadata once in new tab. Okay, so this is my metadata call. Double click on this metadata. It will be opened in new tab. And from here, you can just copy the field names and you can just bind EMP ID, EMP name, then the designation, Then what we need? Gender is there. And last we have company. So just copy that and paste it. That's it. Now see, now I have kept the open metadata. Let it load. See, is it, can you see now? The data is coming. See, this is how you can read. Whenever it's making a call to the backend to read the data. So the request that you will see in the network call will be $batch. Okay, so $batch will be the request that will be called, and in this you'll get the response like this. And if you go to the payload, so which payload it is passing, like employee set, this is what the payload it is passing initially to read the data. Okay, so guys, it's clear. It's calling whenever you want to check the payload, like the what type of method it is triggering. By default, it is triggering HTTP method get. Okay, it's triggering get HTTP method to read the data from employee set. So this is one way to read the data from the XML. Now, second way is how to read the data from the controller. If you ask me personally, we will always go with controller only, not with XML. Okay, that is the means I'll tell you what is the reason that we have to go with controller. When you go with XML, you cannot control that service call. Okay, you cannot control that service call. By default, it will hit the backend and it will read the data. But there can be the certain cases, right? You only want to read the data on the certain conditions. Before that, it should not read the data. But if you're directly assigning the entity set, by default, it will call the service and it will read the data. That behavior you cannot control. So for that only, we always go with controller part. Okay. So within this controller,
You means validation, right? For every
yes,
validation, you
yes.
have to show.
Yes. Now tell me, now the basic validation is if user is that one, then only I have to make a service call. Okay. Based on the user, I want to make a service call and only that specific data I want to read. But this condition, you can't do it from the XML. In XML, as soon as you bind the entity set name, by default, it will call the service. Okay. So that is one major reason that we never go with XML in rare case. Like simply, if you want to do the normal binding of drop downs or something like that, yes, you can go with the normal this one. You can directly do the binding in the XML itself. But if you want to read the data based on certain service calls, based on certain validations, then don't bind directly the entity set in the XML. Don't bind it. Go with controller only. Okay, so now here I'll just call one method on read emp data. So this is my method, and now I'll give and I'll just add on read emp data. It's a function. Now within this, first we need to get the oData model. How to get that? This dot get owner component dot get model. Okay, so as it is a default model, so we don't have to provide a model name inside the get model. Now from oData model, we have to read. Okay, so how to read the how to trigger the get HTTP method. So to trigger the get HTTP method with the help of oData model, so there is one method called read. Go to API reference and search for oData model of version v2 because the oData service that we have integrated, it's of version v2. So refer oData model of version v2. And now here there will be one method called read. Okay, can you see this read method? So that is the read method which will trigger get HTTP method. See, it will trigger a get request to oData service that was specified in the model constructor. Now this is the method. Now within this method, we have two parameters. One is the S path and second is the M parameters. So first add this read method. So O model dot read. And now inside this, we have a two parameter. First is the S path. So S path is nothing but a path of entity set. And how to define that? So this is which is the entity set? Employee set. Copy that, give double quotes, give slash, and then give employee set. So specifying slash is important. Without this, your data will not be read. Okay, it won't fetch the details. This will simply throw the error. So make sure to specify slash. What we have already done in XML. Slash employee set. Same we have to do it in slash employee set in case of controller. Okay, now give comma. What is the second parameter? Second parameter is nothing but it is an object. Okay, first parameter was string. That's why we added that path inside the string. Second parameter is object. Now, second parameter object means we have to specify this opening and closing curly brackets. Now, within this, if I want to pass filter, I'll pass it afterwards. So first of all, how to get that data? How to get that data and which parameter will return that data? So for that, we have two famous callback functions here. One is success, one is error. Okay, one is success and one is error. So this success and error callback function we have to define. Okay, and this will return, and this success function, this callback function will carry response data. Okay, and now give comma, error will carry, if some error is there, so this error will carry error details. Okay, so I will add debugger keyword in both the cases. Now this time our application will make two service call, because from XML already one service call is happening, and again it will call one more same service in from the controller. Okay, so 1 second. See, by default I have a debugger now. Second. Yeah. So can you see two service call happened, right? One is from the XML side and one is from the controller side. So when you go to the source, so see, I have a breakpoint directly inside 18 line number. And when we hover on this response, can we see the results 1 or 2? See, we have the data like this. We are getting the data which we have, which we are calling. OK. Now this data we have to bind it back to the table. And how to bind that? Same, very simple. So first of all, we have to store this data. Now, if you see, this data is available inside the results, right? O response dot results, then only we have this array records. So I'll do one thing here. I'll write JSON model. I'll specify JSON model here. I'll write new sap.ui.model.json.json model. Okay. And now, as we already have a function inside the function, I have to do bind this. OK, so here what I will do, I'll call this OJSON model dot set data, and inside the set data, I'll pass O response dot results. And now this JSON model, I have to set it on the view. This dot get view. Set model. OJSON model, comma. I'll write employee data model. That's it. So this is the process that we have to follow in case of controller. OK, so we created the constructor for JSON model. We stored some data inside the JSON model with the help of set data method of JSON model. And now we have to finally we have to set this model on the view with the help of the syntax. OK, and what is the model name? Employee data model. Now what all changes we have to do? So I'll just copy this code. I'll comment this, and below I will add a new table code. And now here, the changes that I have to do is, this is our model, greater than sign, slash. What we have to do, nothing we have to add, just keep it as it is. Employee data model, give greater than sign, slash. And now here, everywhere we have to bind the model name. Okay, so guys, this is what the syntax we have to do. And now let's go back here and now let's reload. Okay, so the table which the code that we commented, it was reading directly from the oData. So now instead of that, it will read the data from the controller side. Okay, see, this is the response. And we set that data. Now inside the JSON model, we have that data now. So if you go here, we have 2 records in this. And now finally, we have to set that model on the view. See, still I have the same response. But the difference is when we bind it through the XML, that entity set, at that time, you can see one busy indicator, right? But you can't see when you do it from the controller side. So that is one default behavior when we do the actual oData binding. Okay. See, you can't see any busy indicator. Simply, we have to see a blank screen at the start. And after that, after a couple of milliseconds, a data will appear. But this is only for the 2 records. But what if we have more than 300 or 500 or 1000 records? In that case, user have to wait for at least couple of minutes, a couple of seconds, just to data to arrive. So the best way is add busy indicator. Okay, so go in controller and before you make a read call, just define one busy dialog and just add sap.m.busy dialog, which is a control. And now inside the busy dialog, see, you go to the API, you busy dialog, you go to properties, and now here you can just add a title and text. Whatever you want to add, you can add that. So let's say I'm adding a title. So the title would be loading data. What should be the text? Is wet. Okay, so this would be the text. And now we simply have to open busy dialog. Okay, so open that busy dialog before reading, and we have to close that busy dialog. We have to close that busy dialog inside success and inside the error. Means if error is occurring, then in that case also we have to close. That's it. Now let's see the output. Can you see now? Okay, so this is the best way, or this is the best practice that we always have to do whenever you integrate any oData service in UI.